is how in the global north, facilitators and communities, when they often, not always, but often when they think about the climate crisis and the chaos of climate change, are thinking about it as something that's a little bit around and it's going to maybe happen in the future and we need to be thinking about it. And that's kind of very painful because in many parts of the world, there's massive impacts that have already been felt. People have died, people have been displaced, had to move. There's lots of migration happening because of climate chaos that's happening. But it's not only that, it's also in that awareness, something's missing, which is actually, it's a long time this has been happening where, and we're doing this seminar that's coming up in London, which is the capital of what was the British Empire, but its legacy is continuing. British corporations, that the oil industry, fossil fuel industry, is also manipulating and controlling many things behind the scenes in order to keep business as usual, which is still and is continuing to cause so much hardship when the answers are actually clear what we need to do and reparations need to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that which we could say is one of the purposes of our seminar is to look at that when we talk about what's out there, like Andy's talking about the urgency, the scene around climate crisis, is how it happens in us and between us in any moment, right? And how when we tune into that, it doesn't mean we're moving away from the outside scene. It's the opposite. It'll actually help us to respond to all these dynamics in a more sustainable way. That is what we want this seminar to be about, right? That's the contribution we bring in. So one of the roles that Andy is speaking about is the one who doesn't still get it, who says there's still a way. It's a role that we would say is about privilege. I, as Anup, can identify with it. I live in London. I'm not directly facing a flood or devastation of my land right now, or my livelihood going in a way that millions and billions of people are facing that, right? So I am in that role. Then there's another role that is saying it's urgent. I still don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I can identify with that role. I wasn't born in the global north. I was born in Kenya in the global south. Kenya is going through devastation right now. Right? I can speak from there. I know it. I can also choose not to be there.
Yeah.
So these are different ways that we can process these roles right now between us. And I'll just say one thing that happens is when awareness, when the urgent one or the one who's devastated speaks, many times it creates a dissociation on the other side. People can start to feel, oh, this is too much. Or you're going on too much. Or I can't cope with this. I've got enough problems of my own. I've got a cost of living crisis. I can't focus on what's happening there. My family's in shit. I'm traumatized. I'm just naming all these dynamics that happen at this moment. And how do we work with these?
So in this training, we also want to look at how these dynamics that we're hearing about can happen in the teamwork. How you can start to get, we would call it get dreamt up. How might I take it personally or get knocked out by something that gets said by the group? Or one of my colleagues says to me how competition can appear in the facilitation team, gender dynamics, race dynamics, different intersections that are all systemic and also can feel personal in the moment. How can we start to develop these skills in an awareness to facilitate and not just get stuck and become reactive in relationship to dynamics, and realize that whatever I might be experiencing if I'm facilitating, since this is a facilitation training, is also part of the field. And that's exactly what people have come here to learn to do. So if I get knocked out as a leader, as a facilitator, you can expect to be attacked, criticized, or accused of something. And there's going to be some truth to it, but expect it. You have a lot of power in that moment. How do we work with that? Do we just react? Do we go into trauma responses? Or how can we facilitate that, knowing that's exactly what people have come to learn about? And that's where inner work, what we call inner work, is so essential. How can we not just suffer from the thing that's difficult in the moment? How can we identify exactly what is it that's creating the reaction in me? Learn to differentiate that from my response. Learn to step outside, be able to facilitate that inner dialogue internally, or in my teamwork, or in relationship to the group or the topic